Hey there everyone, what's up? Today, it's kind of typhooning outside. There's a typhoon, so if you hear any weird noise, it's probably that. But other than that, this video is going to be another collection video, and this is going to be my Super Famicom collection, and this is by request. I probably wouldn't have made this video, actually, if someone didn't request it, because I'm not like a huge Super Famicom collector. I like the system and everything, but it's not like one of my main things that I'm looking for games for all the time. Like, I have a list of stuff, but it's not like a priority, so I tend to not get a lot of Super Famicom stuff, but it was a request, and we'll go through my collection. It's not small, it's not big either, though, so hopefully this won't take too long. But we'll start with the stuff that's not in boxes, because it's stuff that I care less about. And that's to say, a lot of this was given to me, so I didn't pay for a lot of these, but anyway, we've got, of course, Super Mario World. You know, of course, this was actually the first game I got on the Super Nintendo when I originally got it, because it was a pack-in game, and I played the hell out of it, so I don't know, it's probably one of my favorite Mario games, and I'm not like a huge Mario game fan or anything, but Super Mario World was a good game. I haven't gone back to play it recently, and I don't plan on going back to play it, but it's alright to have. We've got Seiken Densetsu 2. Yeah, that's... what is it? Secret of Mana 2. I'm not like a huge fan of that series either. I know a lot of people really love it, but it's kind of not my thing, I guess. Speaking of other games that are not really my thing, we've got Dragon Quest 1 and 2, and Dragon Quest 5. I don't know what it is about Dragon Quest. I know it's like something a lot of people really love. I just can't get into it. It's good. I mean, it's not a bad game or anything. It's, you know, alright to play. It's just not for me, I guess. So I don't know. That's my entire Dragon Quest collection, actually. So those are the only games I've played in Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 5. But yeah. Continuing on, we've got Super Mario Kart. I just don't like Super Mario Kart. I don't like Mario Kart at all. I don't like racing games, and like, if I were to play a racing game, I'd probably want to play something like Gran Turismo, or, you know, what's it called? Forza, or something like that, a realistic one. Whereas kart racers, if I had a rank on like levels of racing games, like, kart racers are way at the bottom. Even like racers are way at the bottom, but kart racers especially I don't like. So Mario Kart, it's Mario Kart. This is next one. It's Buddy Ozumo, which is a sumo game. Actually, I think I put up a video about this game on my other channel, my abandoned other channel that I just use for subscriptions now. There's a video, I think, of me playing this. It's an alright game. I kind of like this series. There's actually a WiiWare version, a new version of this game, and there's a bunch of versions of this game anyway, but I don't know. Sumo game every once in a while, fun to pop in. Next, we've got some other stuff over here. Let's see. Final Fight 2. Final Fight is one of my... it's probably my favorite beat-em-up series. Final Fight, good stuff. And, you know, Final Fight 2, you should just have that. Final Fight 1 I don't have on the Super Famicom. I have on Game Boy Advance and on the Xbox. So... but Final Fight 2 I've got on the Super Famicom. And eventually, I feel like I should upgrade this to a box copy, but, you know, having it already, it kind of like takes that out of my sales. There are a few games that I did upgrade. This is the Shinri Game 2, which is... it's not really a game. It's hardly a game. It's like a quiz almost, but it's like a personality quiz. So what you do is you get a bunch of people together and you each take the quiz, and you can kind of see like what your personality type is and how you match with other people. That's what it is. I mean, it's super simple, and it's all text. but this was given to me. I didn't buy this. Continuing on with my games without boxes, we've got Twinbee. This is Poppin' Twinbee. This is a colorful kind of shooter, cute 'em up, whatever. This is, I think this one is horizontal? No, it's vertical. This is probably vertical, yeah. But Poppin' Twinbee, the Twinbee series is really kind of underrated. I think it's because it's like really a cute kind of game that people aren't really as hyped about it as something like Gradius or Life Force or whatever. But Twinbee is a really solid series, and I've got a bunch of the other ones on other systems, but this one I think is Super Nintendo exclusive, maybe, or this is the best version. I don't know why I have this one specifically and not the other ones on the Super Nintendo, but I got this one, Poppin' Twinbee. Continuing on, we've got, this is Legend of Zelda, whatever, A Link to the Past. That's not what it's called in Japanese. It's called Kamigami no Triforce in Japanese, but this is A Link to the Past. This is probably the last Zelda game that I somewhat enjoyed. It's not a bad game. I still think like the first Zelda game is my favorite Zelda game, and this one is good. And then pretty much all the other ones I haven't enjoyed. And that's all the other ones I played. I haven't played a lot of the handheld ones or anything, but man, once you get past the Super Nintendo, those 3D Zelda games, thumbs down. No thank you. And I played a bunch of them too, so it's not like I tried one and just was like, oh, I don't like this. I tried one and I was like, I don't like this, I'll try another one. I didn't like it. And I tried even more. Played like essentially all the main Zelda games. And I don't like any of them past the Super Nintendo. But yeah. This is next one, Tengai Makyo Zero. This is Far East of Eden Zero. This is, I don't remember if this is a new game or it's a remake of one of the TurboGrafx games with no cutscenes or whatever. I don't remember. I can't remember. This was like one of the earlier games I played on the Super Famicom. It's been a long time, so I just don't remember. Next we've got Pack in Time. This game isn't very good. It is a kind of a puzzle platformer, I guess, but it's not very good. That was another one that was given to me also. I wouldn't have bought that because I had actually played it before, and it isn't very good. Last is Chrono Trigger. I've got this in a box too, which you'll see later, so I won't talk about it now, but Chrono Trigger. Let's see. Okay, move this stuff out of the way, and we'll move on to the box games. The majority of my collection, I think, is boxed, so I try not to buy anything that's not complete. Most of that stuff that I just showed was stuff I got. Either I just like found it in a thrift shop or something, like a recycle shop, and it was super cheap, and I was just like, well, I can't pass it up even though it doesn't have the stuff, or it's stuff that was given to me. All this other stuff, though, is stuff that I bought, so it's all boxed and complete. But we'll start with, this is Super Inindo. This is a kind of ninja RPG made by Koei, and you usually don't associate Koei with RPGs, but this is it. This is Inindo, and this is actually has an English version. It's called the same thing, Super Inindo, I think. But yeah, this game is pretty good actually. It's not like the greatest RPG on the Super Famicom by a long shot, but it is the kind of game where like when you play it, you think like, why doesn't people like this more? And then you kind of get through it towards the end, and you're kind of like, oh, it's good, but it's not great. And yeah, that's all I have to say really. It's a pretty good game though, Super Inindo. Not the best, but not terrible either. Next we've got this is Leading Company. This is made by Koei. It is a simulation game. It's a business simulation, and I like business simulation games a lot. And this one is great because the business you're running is retro. And I say that like, you know, there's some games that are, you know, like if you've ever played Wall Street Kid, like Wall Street doesn't really, you know, get retro. I mean, the companies that are in the list in Wall Street Kid are all kind of retro, but this company and leading company, you're running a VHS company. If you can, it's funny because like the company you're running is like making VHS players and things, and you're trying to like get burst into the market, and now it's like nobody even uses VHS anymore. So it's like a kind of a retro game for a retro company, which is interesting. But I like it's a pretty good game actually. Almost all of Koei's simulation games are really good. I've got another one actually. We'll look at that next. Air Management. This actually has a release on the Genesis maybe, and I don't remember what the name is. It might be Air Management also. I'm not sure. But this game is also a kind of airline business simulation. And if you like business simulations, you can't really go wrong with this. But if you want to, obviously it's probably difficult to play in Japanese if you're not like pretty competent in Japanese, but I think you can get this on the Genesis in English. I would recommend it. It's a pretty good game. Next we've got Area 88. This game is, what's it called? UN Squadron in English. And this is a game I actually played in the arcade a ton. There was an arcade machine of UN Squadron at my local comic book shop, and I used to go there all the time and play UN Squadron. So this was a game I actually owned as a kid on the Super Nintendo, and I played a ton. I just love this game. It's such a good shooter. This is like a Capcom shooter, and it's based on obviously on the manga Area 88. I actually didn't know that until like, you know, a few years ago, and I had played UN Squadron a ton, but I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know it was a manga. I just thought it was a game. But whatever, it was a good one. Next we've got another shooter, Gradius 3. I'm not a huge shooter guy. I think you guys probably know that. But I occasionally play shooters, and my favorite series is R-Type, but Gradius, probably a close second. And Gradius 3 is not... If you've played the arcade version, it's really hard. And the Super Famicom version is not as hard. Not really, but I think that probably makes it more fun, because I've played the arcade version a ton, but I'm like awful at it. Super Famicom version, I can at least, you know, get through stages. But yeah, I'm not, like I said, I don't play a lot of shooters, and I don't have a lot of shooters. Even though, like, you know, like I said, I don't collect a lot for the Super Famicom, or the Super Nintendo for that matter, but because of that generation, what I'm collecting for is the PC Engine. And even though I'm like in that generation, I'm mainly a PC Engine collector, I still don't collect shooters all that much. I have, even on the PC Engine, which has a ton, you know, I have 4 or 5 shooters only, and that's probably all I'll be getting. It doesn't help also that they're really expensive, but even if they weren't, I probably wouldn't be picking up a lot of them. Just not like a huge shooter guy. I just have like a few that I like, and that's about it. But speaking of that, we've got Phalanx. And Phalanx, look at this cover. Now, if you look at this cover, you think, oh, this is a game with a spaceship shooting stuff. You know, this is the game that in the US has the cover of the old guy with a banjo and an alien spaceship in the background. Like, I don't know, this is so much better cover. But yeah, Phalanx is a pretty good space shooter, horizontal shooting game, I guess. This is another one that I had as a kid, and I always thought that box was really stupid, but you know, it was on clearance or something really cheap, and I was just like, this game looks ridiculous, I'm just gonna get it. And then it ended up being like a pretty fun shooter, so, you know, it was another one that I had to get again once I started collecting for the Super Famicom. That being said, I have all my Super Nintendo games still in the US, so there's a lot of stuff in here that you'll be like, why don't you have Final Fantasy? Well, because I have that already in the US, in English, and I don't really feel like I want to play those again. So I have I have them in other kind of ways to play them, I guess. So I don't really need to buy the Super Famicom versions again of Final Fantasy 4 and 6. I have them in the US. Eventually I'll go back to the US and pick some of those games and bring them back, but for now, not gonna happen. But next we've got Romancing Saga 2. This is a pretty good RPG series, Saga, and I was, obviously, like most people, I think my first exposure to Saga was on the Game Boy, as the Final Fantasy games that were Saga games. And then, on the PlayStation 1, Saga Frontier, when that came out, I was super excited because I had heard, like, those Game Boy games were originally Saga games, even back then, and I was like, wow, I really like that Game Boy game, I gotta get Saga Frontier. And I really like Saga Frontier, it's one of my favorite RPGs on the PS1. But, yes, Romancing Saga 2, good stuff. This game, it's not like your standard kind of linear game. There are a lot of options you can do. You can kind of do things out of order and stuff. It's a pretty good series for that reason. It's like Square Enix gets experimental, and you got Romancing Saga. Well, the whole Saga series, really. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it goes horribly wrong, or horribly under budget or whatever. But next we've got Chrono Trigger. This is, of course, Chrono Trigger is a classic. Everybody talks about Chrono Trigger, like, if you're, it's like to the point where if this isn't in your top 10, if you make a top 10 Super Famicom list or something and it's not in there, like 90% of people commenting are just gonna be like, "Where's Chrono Trigger?" Probably wouldn't be in my top 10 RPGs on the Super Famicom, actually, but it's still a good game. I like Chrono Trigger, but I don't love Chrono Trigger like everybody else seems to. It's fun, but I don't really think I think it's kind of overrated, to be honest. It's not like a game that I'm super, super in love with. I mean, that's kind of it. It's good. Speaking of another game that I'm not super in love with that I think is kind of overrated, Mother 2, this is Earthbound. Earthbound, like Chrono Trigger, I think it's a great game. It's fun to play, but there's so much better stuff that people should be playing instead. But that's not to say you shouldn't play either of those games, but this one, it's a good game. That's all I'll say, I guess. It's fun, it's not so difficult, it's kind of, charming, but it's not the greatest. It's not the greatest like people claim it is, at least. It's nowhere near as good as people claim it is. Continuing on, we've got Shadowrun. This is a game that's probably, like, much higher on my list than pretty much anything I've shown so far, actually. This is based on the Shadowrun pen and paper RPG, and this game is like all types of interesting. It's kind of like a mix between an action RPG and a point-and-click adventure. You've got these kind of point-and-click parts where you're in buildings and you talk to people, and then you have the kind of battle system, which is an action-based kind of button-mashing shooter. It's pretty good, actually. I really enjoy the story, and this is a game I had as a kid also, and I've probably beaten it about 20 or 30 times, and I've recently played it again when Shadowrun Returns came out. Before it came out, I played this. It only takes it's not like a super long game. You can beat it in a couple hours if you know what you're doing. I mean, there's a point where you kind of have to grind, but other than that, like, you can just kind of blow right through this game. Maybe 8 hours. You could probably do it even faster than that. Yeah, if you don't want to get, like, the arena battles and stuff, but whatever. Shadowrun is kind of an underrated game, I'd say. It should be much higher on everybody's radar. Another game here, we've got Metal Max Returns. And Metal Max is a series I've talked about a bunch on my channel because it's kind of a post-apocalyptic RPG with tank battling and kind of non-linear elements. Like, you can end the game really quickly in all of them. I think in this one, I think you can end the game in like 15 minutes or something. There's an ending you can get. In all of them, there's pretty much an ending you can get that quickly, though. It's pretty interesting because there's always multiple endings and a bunch of like different characters you can find, and you can. It's kind of like an interesting kind of situation where you can build tanks and cars and things out of scraps from enemies you find, and you can. There's like all these hunting missions, and it's really pretty cool. The battle system is kind of like Final Fantasy with tanks, except like you can get out of the tank and use people too. So it's like an extra layer of awesome, and it's a post-apocalyptic setting, like imagine like Mad Max or something, but wackier and more colorful. That's kind of and made into a Final Fantasy type RPG. That's kind of what you got with Metal Max. Good stuff. This is actually Metal Max 2. I didn't mention that. It's Metal Max Returns with the... whatever. It's good. You can get that on the DS also. It's been remade as Metal Max 2 Reloaded, I believe. I have that somewhere in my DS games. Let's see. Next we've got Fire Emblem. This is... what is this? Monsho no Nazo. This is... whatever. Mystery of the Crest or Shield or Seal or... I don't remember what the English name is. But whatever, Fire Emblem. This is, I believe, a remake of the first game. It's got Marth. It's pretty good stuff. Fire Emblem you can't really go wrong with. I really enjoy kind of the Fire Emblem series. I haven't played all the Fire Emblem games, but I have played. I've liked pretty much every one. So Fire Emblem you can't pass up Fire Emblem. Let's see. We've got Go-Go Ackman 3. This is a kind of action platformer. You can see it's art by Akira Toriyama, and I believe it's based on a comic or like a manga by Akira Toriyama about Ackman, who is a demon, and usually he fights angels, but in this one he's kind of teamed up with this angel to fight this kind of pedophile cop. It's kind of weird and crazy. I can understand why this wouldn't have been localized, actually. But, yeah, it's pretty good. Good stuff. Interesting, kind of strange characters, cool art style. Looks really nice. I don't know. That's about it, though. It's a good series. Continuing on, we've got Kamaitachi no Yoru. This is one of the first visual novels ever made by Chunsoft. But it is kind of a horror mystery, murder mystery, I guess. But this is a pretty big series, actually. I have 1, 2, and 3, and then there's like a remake of 1 also on the PS1 that I have. And there's a new one on the Vita that I haven't bought yet, but it's super cheap now if you're really interested in it. But this is a pretty good series, actually. It's an interesting thing, and like it does all these things that are kind of I wish, even though this is like a pretty old visual novel, it still does a lot of things that some modern visual novels should still kind of steal off of it, because they're really handy, like kind of story trees, and then and like kind of keeping track of what you have and haven't played in the story by a kind of flow chart. It also does this kind of thing where, like, after you beat the game, sometimes you can find strange side stories within the story. So, like, you'll go through and you'll play a scene and you'll find that it branches off into this weird story that's unrelated to the main story that you play through. Kamaitachi no Yoru has a bunch of them, actually. There's like a weird psychic story in the game where you'll kind of come across like psychics, and you'll go on this other kind of mystery altogether. It's pretty in depth. It's pretty interesting too. And this is another game that you can find an ending in like 2 minutes or something right in the beginning of the game. You can like just, you know, there's murders happening. You could just be like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna just take this job from this guy at the hotel, and we're done. Let's get out of here. You can do that, and you win. It's not a bad ending actually. It's just a really fast ending. You don't get any of the story. Whatever. Next game. I think this is Battle Dodgeball 2. Yeah. It's hard to see the 2 there. It almost blends right into the background. But Battle Dodgeball. This is like just what you'd imagine, a battling dodgeball game, except the characters are Kamen Rider, Gundam, and Ultraman, part of the Compatible Heroes line, Kampachi Heroes, or whatever it is. And there's a ton of games in the series of Kampachi Heroes, and as you guys probably have noticed, I get a bunch of them. I like a bunch of them, and I play a bunch of them. Some of them are not so good, so I haven't played those. Like, there are a bunch of Famicom ones that I have, and some other ones that are not so exciting. Like, they're these kind of terrible beat-em-up ones, but there are some really good ones. Like, again, on the 3DS, one of the best RPGs on the 3DS is actually Lost Heroes, which is part of this series. So, it's a good series. This, you know, it plays like your kind of standard Super Dodgeball kind of game. Continuing on, we've got Tales of Fantasia. This is an alright game. I'm not like a huge Tales fan. I know you guys know that, but this one is, you know, kind of flawed. It is the first game, so obviously it's not as good or polished as the others, but it's a pretty good game, and I enjoy the 2D battle system in this game. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I really like the Tales of Fantasia battle system. But, you know, it doesn't... It's not like a super great game, but it's good. Continuing on, we've got Front Mission. I love me some strategy RPGs, and Front Mission is a really good series. I don't even like mechs, actually, and I know a lot of people love mechs and love that kind of stuff. Like, even the Kampachi Heroes games, like, I avoid using Gundams as much as possible in place of Ultramans or Kamen Riders, but Front Mission, there are a few mech games that I like, and they're almost all strategy RPGs. Front Mission is one of them, and of course Sakura Taisen. But Front Mission I would recommend. You can get this on the DS in English, I believe, so hop on it if you haven't, or you can get it, you know, on the Super Famicom and play it in Japanese. I don't care how you play it, just play it. Next we've got Furai no Shiren. This is Fushigi no Dungeon 2, which is Mystery Dungeon, right? Mysterious Dungeon, Mystery Dungeon, whatever it is in English. This is the second game in the series, and it's the first Shiren game. Shiren the Wanderer, I guess, is what they're calling it, yeah. Shiren the Wanderer, this is the first game in the series, and it plays exactly like all the other games. I mean, the Shiren games don't really change all that much between their iterations, and the first one is good. It's a lot of fun, actually, and you know, once you kind of figure out what you're doing, it's kind of a roguelike, you know, sense. It's like a roguelike light, I guess. All the Mystery Dungeon games are, really, but it's still good. Good game, and I would recommend this too if you haven't played it. Let's see. Another roguelike here on the Super Famicom, we've got Melandra, and I think I put up video of this somewhere on my channel if you're really interested in seeing it, but it is a pretty interesting kind of roguelike because you have these kind of hearts. It like character hearts, hero hearts, I don't remember what they're called, but you use those hearts to kind of unfreeze helper characters to help you through the dungeons, and you'll see that they're like turned to stone in this kind of selection room, and you'll be able to, you know, select the one you want depending on the amount of hearts you have, and you'll be able to go through the game and play it. It's a roguelike though, so you know, if you die you lose everything at all your levels and whatever, but it is a good game. I really enjoy this game actually. There's probably about a half-hour gameplay on my video on my channel if you want to see it. Let's see. Next we've got Battle Soccer 2, and again, Kanbachi Heroes, Ultraman, Kamen Rider, Gundam, in a Battle Soccer game. So it's soccer, but with those characters and wacky moves, I guess. That's like the kind of thing. I don't really like sports games all that much, but if you give me like a wacky battle sports game, then I'll probably like it. You know, those games like Mutant League games, Mutant League Football especially, or like Pigskin 621 AD. I don't remember what the Genesis, that was ported to the Genesis as like Pigskin Brawl or something. I don't remember. It's a really long name though. But those types of games, like I really like those kind of, even like the Kunio-kun kind of Technos dodgeball games, stuff like that. I love those games. So it's not that I just don't like realistic sports games. If you give me like crazy battle sports games or arcade sports games, those are fun. But yeah, continuing on, we've got, I think they're almost all the rest of these games are SMT games except this one. This is Dark Half, and I still haven't played this actually, but this was like when Pete Dorr was here, when we were out game shopping, and he was like saying, you have to get this game because it's a game like he's really, really excited about. And his description of it sounded really awesome, and I still haven't played it. I should, because it does sound awesome. And looking at it right now, I think like, wow, it still sounds pretty awesome. But apparently you're the villain in this game, and you kind of go through and do all these awful things. And then there's a hero half also, where you're doing these other parts as a hero. It seems pretty interesting, though. I guess it seems like a kind of game that I would really enjoy, actually. So I should get on this. It's like one of the few games in my Super Famicom collection that I haven't finished, actually. If that shows you how often I'm like buying Super Famicom games. But next we've got, this is Kyuyaku Megami Tensei, which is Megami Tensei 1 and 2 remade for the Super Famicom. This is good. I like the Megami Tensei games, the original two. I have them on the Famicom, but this one has, I want to say the music is not as good, which sounds strange, but the Famicom ones have like a special chip in the Famicom carts, and you'll see, if you've ever seen the original Famicom carts of Megami Tensei, they're like huge. They're much bigger than a regular one because they have extra music chips in there. But the graphics are obviously better in this one. So it's kind of a toss-up of which you want to play, but it's handy to have this one because they're both on one card. But, you know, it's good. This is a, great series, one of my favorite RPG series. So as you'll see when we continue on through this pile. We've got Shin Megami Tensei. This is the first Shin Megami Tensei game, and it's probably my favorite story out of all of them. I think the scenario for this game is the strongest out of all of them, because it's the one that starts off in a kind of regular situation and everything kind of goes to hell. And that's like the situation I enjoy the most in the series, whereas pretty much, except for 3, which also has a similar kind of startup, but then goes into something totally not off the rails a bit in terms of like how the other two worked. The other ones kind of start either after all hell is broken loose, or after like the situation has changed drastically. But the first one starts off in a kind of modern day, which is nice. Then we've got Shin Megami Tensei 2. This one is probably, I don't know, because like it's hard to say like this is my favorite game in the series, because I like the scenario for 1 better, but this one plays better, and probably the characters are better, and the story is probably better. but the setting is not. Like, I don't... There's some parts of it that are not as good as the first one, obviously. But, it's still really good. Both of these games, I, like, kind of switch back and forth, which is my favorite in the series. But again, first-person dungeon crawler, good stuff. And, yeah. Good game. Continuing on, we've got Shin Megami Tensei. This one is the kind of weird game in the series, because it's kind of like a what if scenario of like what would have happened if like the events of the first game didn't happen. And it's interesting. It has a totally different battle system than the regular game, and like sometimes like you get more powerful if you die than if you don't. You have these kind of guardian spirits that are similar to personas, I guess. Not really. They're a little bit different because you're still summoning demons and stuff, but there is that guardian spirit thing that it kind of moved into the Persona series. But yeah, it's good stuff. This game has 2 totally different games in it though, which is interesting. I think... Oh, it's not up. I was going to say it's on my channel. I did like a playthrough of it, but I did it on Twitch a long time ago, of the second scenario, because it's not as long, but you have to beat the game once to unlock it. But, you know, the normal game you kind of go through, and then you can, like, depending on which character you select in the beginning, you kind of go through the story with that character, but there's a 4th character in the beginning that you can select, and it'll change the story entirely. You don't even do the same dungeons, you just go through one ridiculously long dungeon. And that's in this game. And I did a playthrough of that on Twitch, but it got deleted with everything on Twitch. But yeah. Continuing on, we've got The Last Bible 3. This is the 3rd game in the Last Bible series. Kind of. Well, okay. There are a bunch of Last Bible games, but this is the 3rd, like, main series game. And it's weird. It's a little weird. It's like a Shin Megami Tensei game in a, you know, kind of a standard, it's not really standard, fantasy setting. And the monster designs are all kind of weird and wacky. You'll know what I mean. If you've played it, you already know what I'm talking about. Like, the monster designs are bizarre in a cute kind of way. It's really hard to explain. But Last Bible was, I mean, it was the kind of kid-focused Shin Megami Tensei game, like, focused towards kids. So I guess it explains the kind of cuteness of the characters and everything, until Devil Children came and took over that mantle. But Last Bible does have some kind of less cute games in the series. There is another Bible, which is like a kind of side series game, and then like the one on the Game Gear. Let's see. Next we've got Majin Tensei. Majin Tensei 1 plays like a kind of mix between Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem. It looks like Fire Emblem when you're playing it, actually. The first one, like, it's like the overworld looks similar, and not overworld, but the maps, I mean. There's not really an overworld in the early Fire Emblem games except Gaiden. But, you know, Majin Tensei, this is like a really good strategy RPG, actually. I would recommend playing these if you have an option to, because if you like strategy RPGs, this one is pretty good. And that being said, we've got Majin Tensei 2, which I think is probably even better. The character designs in this game and the monster designs are really nice. And it's weird because, like, the monster designs in this game, like the sprites, look better than the sprites they used on the Saturn version. There's not a version, but in Rondo. This game, it does a lot of good things. It's weird because it goes between, like, spectacular looking to, you know, really bizarrely bad looking. It's hard to explain because there's some scenes that look really bad. Like, they don't look... that's probably an kind of overstatement. They don't look really bad, but they look just kind of meh. Whereas like some of the scenes you're like, wow, how are they doing this? It looks so good. And then, you know, that's how it is. And I've got okay, oh yeah, I have 2 more up here. 2 more games. These are the last 2 actually. We've got Earthlight. Earthlight is similar to Nectaris or Military Madness. I mean, obviously it doesn't look similar. It's like really colorful and bright and uses mechs and things instead of, you know, this kind of Military Madness stuff. But yeah, it's like the play style is like Military Madness with a kind of Super Famicom era anime skin put on it, and it's cool. It's actually pretty fun game. Fun enough that I got this right here. This is Earthlight Lunar Strike, which is the sequel, and this one is much better. For me, it's much better because it's it's weird to say that it's better because it's less colorful, but it's less colorful, but it's more like the situations you play in Military Madness or Nectaris. I have Nectaris like right behind me somewhere. I have like a huge stack of PC Engine games behind me, but whatever. I was going to show you how it looks similar from the boxes, but you probably won't even be able to tell with these cameras. But this, you know, this, because it's Luna Strike, it takes place on the moon like Nectaris does, and it's got very similar kind of things going on. Obviously, there's different things happening in this game. There are kind of space styles things that, and there's mechs instead of tanks and things, but whatever. The battle system is pretty much the same though. You can, if you can see it, you probably can't. It's like a hex-based strategy game. Good stuff. I'm a huge kind of strategy game fan. Not just strategy RPGs, but strategy battle games. So like if you any of those, I'm like apt to purchase when they come out. So if you guys have any recommendations, I would totally pick them up because mostly they tend to be on PC, and I'm not really like super well versed in strategy games on the consoles because when I was really into them, I was playing them on PC. But from, you know, past 16-bit era, I guess, because that's when I was mostly playing on PC and not playing strategy games on my consoles. But yeah, that's my Super Famicom collection. Like I said, it's not huge. It's not really that big or anything, and it doesn't have a lot of well, I mean, it doesn't have a lot of filler. These are all these games are well, for the most part, except the ones that I was given. Mostly things. Oh, did I mention this one? I don't think I even said it. This is Cho Makaimura. This is Ghosts and Goblins, Super Ghosts and Goblins, Super Ghouls and Ghosts. I should really remember what that is because I always mess it up. But whatever. And this is it, Cho Makaimura. This is another one I really want to get a box for, but you know, I found it for like 50 cents or something, and I was just like, well, I can't leave it there for 50 cents. Jeez. But this is another game I had as a kid too, so probably makes more sense for me to get it in a box. I just, you know, haven't. But yeah, that's about it. I have a list of Super Famicom games that I'm still looking for, but in some of well, some of them I sold, actually had, and I sold. Like they were just when I moved to my current apartment. I've been here for years and years, but I used to live in a different part of Japan, and when I moved here, I sold a bunch of stuff to the game store that was near my house because I just didn't want to pay to ship it and move it. So I sold a bunch of my stuff that I had during the time when I was in Japanese school. So games like games that I've even talked about on the channel before, Live Alive, I don't have that, or Live a Live, I guess it is. I don't have that anymore, and it's got like way more expensive than it was when I originally got it, so I probably won't buy that again. What is Violinist of Hamelin I used to have? That's expensive again too, and it's rare. like hard to find and expensive. So I haven't even seen another copy of that before. So I kind of regret selling it actually. And like, what else I'm trying to remember what else I sold, because Hammer and Harry, a lot of that stuff I bought back, but some of it is like just expensive, and I don't feel like paying for it again. So, but beyond that, I do have a list of some other Super Famicom games, a couple more RPGs that I haven't found or haven't been motivated to pay for yet. But other than that, I'm mostly set with it. It's not like a huge collecting focus for me. But yeah, that was my Super Famicom collection. I can't for the life of me remember who requested it, but I'm sure you know who you are. And it was on Facebook too, so I don't, even if I knew who you were on the channel, I probably don't, because you probably have a different name. But whatever. So here's your request. It's done. Super Famicom collection. That's it. See you guys next time. See ya.